This is Edge of the Web Radio, powered by your web design and search engine marketing experts, Site Strategics. Online at sitestrategics.com. Here's Aaron Sparks.
He was an angry little nerd with a perm.
Hey, there's an article from Sherry Thoreau on what was it, search engine market? I don't
remember.
Land.
Yeah, I think it's one of those.
Anyway, she referenced how to make user-friendly and search engine-friendly scannable content. And what we want to talk about here is just that, these key points on what the content readability factor is whenever you're dealing with consumers coming in. Studies have shown that that users on a whole only read about 23% of the content of the page, and they spend little or no time. We're dealing with seconds. At the top 8 seconds before somebody decides whether they want to read further in.
And that's not just web. I mean, I was a broadcast journalism major in college, and they would tell us in newspapers. People don't read the whole newspaper article. They read like the first couple sentences and scan through so they see anything else. I mean, it's not a new concept. No. People don't read the whole thing.
No, but you know what kind of fails flat is that a lot of companies, whenever they're tasked to make the content for a website, it's almost an arduous task that they look at. So they'll just crank through content, and if you're developing it internally, you're not dealing with a web company. You're dealing with somebody who's building a website internally. They're just placing the content on the page. Okay, the About Us section, boom, that's done. Some product information, that's done, and they look at as a pretty tough task to just get the content up there. But what you don't understand is that one page may be the first experience that somebody has with your website. You got to think of your site as not a bunch of channel of pages, but each and every page could potentially be the home page experience that somebody's going through. And if you you haven't focused on how to really make your content consumable quickly, then you may be irritating people to the point where they just jump off and go to another place. So there are fundamentals of website design that all sites must have, and they can be easily laid out here. Easy to read, easy to navigate, easy to find content, consistent and clear in the layout itself, design and labeling, and on top of that, quick to download. I mean, those are basic, rudimentary goals that you have for every website. Well, these guidelines are obvious, but in fact, some people sincerely believe that they're stupid. Of course my website's easy to read.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is a lot of developers have that same perspective, and the irony is that a usability professional is understanding and overlooking the obvious sometimes that actually most users trip up on. Designers, developers, content writers, and other web professionals are so heavily involved in their responsibilities of the entire website as a whole. They overlook the obvious and essential content guidelines. So, like we said, Bing recently announced the content readability as a factor for search engine optimization, and absolutely Google's in the same place. But we got to give Bing a bit of note whenever they come out with some references there. But back in 1997, Tom.
Okay.
Dr. Jacob Nielsen of Nielsen Norman Group actually wrote a book, How Users Read on the Web. Okay. And he actually presented some great writing guidelines to web pages right after that. And his summary was, web users generally prefer writing that is concise, easy to scan, and objective rather than promotional in style. Now, those three things, if you overlay that on your own web content, are you achieving those goals? Do you have content that's so promotional that, it almost sounds, sappy? The amount of focus you put on your own promotion of product and how great this is and how it can solve all your issues. You have to take a step back and look at, okay, is this in each and every page? Do our pages read well? Web users associate scannability with the amount of effort it will take to complete their tasks. In the article, if it's hard to read, it's hard to do. Processing fluency affects effort prediction. There was an individual from the Association of Psychological Sciences that said people are more likely to engage in a given behavior the less effort it requires. As numerous studies have indicated, high perceived effort is a major impediment to behavior change. So let's say I come to a website and I see a block of content that is a screen and a half long,
Yep.
and each of the paragraphs has 3 or 4 sentences in it, and it looks like it's going to be a chore for me to actually read through that. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, that's how most people actually perceive content.
Yeah.
Even subconsciously, they'll go to a page. Oh wow! Oh,
Yeah.
and that experience right there
Yeah.
turns that opportunity of a prospect from
Yep.
from a lead to a lost conversion right there.
Yep.
There's a number of points that we want to go through here real quick. We have 10 ways to actually make content easily scanned. And take notes, and also you can go through and download this off of our website. It's a great article, and we're going to bullet them all the way through here, but overlay these points onto your own website, any given page, right? First and foremost, content should be genuine. And it should seem genuine and be genuine. Copywriters should learn to write the content first and worry about scannability after the main portion of web content is written. As writers become more experienced, they can actually learn to incorporate scannability naturally into their writing formats, but never sacrifice scannability for genuine, sincere writing. You just don't do that. So here are 10 ways to make content easier to actually scan and read. Okay, number 1, shorter and concise paragraphs.
Yep.
After you type the first draft of your website content, you should view it on a computer monitor so you can see where the large blocks of black text are. Then simply split the longer paragraphs into shorter ones. And often you can see if there's a sentence or an idea in a paragraph that you want to emphasize, then put that single sentence into its own paragraph.
Yeah. If you look at a newspaper, every sentence is a paragraph.
Yep.
I very rarely, unless the sentence is like 2 or 3 words long, they'll have more than one sentence as a paragraph.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
And doesn't that, if it's a true content, a true idea and goal, shouldn't that have its own paragraph to get the point across? Because you could possibly bury it in a larger paragraph, and it just doesn't read well. You know, content embedded text links are also something very, very important. Search engines and users treat content embedded text links differently than global site navigation. When search engines calculate the document's unique content fingerprint, the template items like global navigation are not included in that fingerprint. So every page that has a link inside of the surrounding content of the page is treated as a stronger link than the periphery navigation. So don't overdo this strategy, but if you want to have a link valued higher in search engine rankings, then use it sparingly and use it to reinforce a particular argument. Third is headlines and subheadings. You know, if you know the page content is going to be longer than one computer screen, you need to try to create headings and subheadings to block it off and make it more easily digestible, for lack of a better description. Break up the content with headers. H2s and H3s are also very good goals for search engine optimization because the engines want to understand your content better. You know, a quick tip here is don't use gray as a color for headings. Gray colored text tends to recede, and headings should stand out on a page. Additionally, gray text is harder to read as well on mobile phones. So there's actually a color contrast checker that we recommend you use, and it's a free tool out there by WebAIM. It's webaim.org. It's the contrast checker, and you can actually put in what your background color is and what your font color is, and it will actually say whether you pass or fail in that contrast
That's
tool.
cool.
It's a neat tool, and you should look at it if you have a dark background and you've got some different colors of your text. If your headings are actually not matching, it's not going to be very easily to be read. All right, number 4, bulleted or numbered lists. Now, on a long page, such as a frequently asked questions page, right, or a Q&A page, you need to keep scannable content above the fold. And if it's a longer page, putting bulleted or numbered lists and links of those links tied to those bullets for deeper links into the page, it's almost like a mini navigation above the fold there. That way people don't have to scroll and can scan quickly the content that's available on the page. You know, one way to add scannable bulleted list to content is to find a sentence that contains maybe multiple commas.
Okay.
And you can probably rewrite and reformat that sentence into a bulleted list. A fifth point here, pulling quotes and block quotes. That's one of the simplest ways to make scannable content. It's actually to create pull quotes or block quotes. Can you tell me what the pull quotes and block quotes are, Tom?
So say it's an interview with somebody or something, and in the middle of the article they'll have it blocked off or something, and they'll just have a quote from the individual in really big font.
Yep. Absolutely. And for search engine optimization purposes, you need to use these formats to encourage writers to emphasize keywords or concept-focused content. Remember to format the pull quotes and block quotes as text whenever possible. A sixth point is graphic images with optional captions and headlines. Graphic images on web pages should serve a purpose more than purely an aesthetic reason. Does a graphic image make content easier to scan? And we are of the opinion that every page of a website should have some visible image that is a connection to the concept that you're writing about. Having a dry page that has no engaging image is the sure sign of not a well thought out strategy here, because again, every page is almost a home page in its own right.
Yeah.
And the visual cues actually get processed before any reading happens.
Yep. Yeah, good example. I think it was just this morning. I was doing a how-to video. I had a question about that flip cam, and it didn't have the full capacity that it used to have, and so I was trying to figure out how to get the full capacity back. Full 60 minutes was down to like 42.
Oh,
even though I deleted all the videos.
Right.
And so I went to this website, how-to thing, and it was just a block of text on the page, and I didn't want to read it.
Oh.
So I found another page, and it broke down, had the bulleted number list, and it had images that showed me where I needed to click and what I needed to do. It was much more instructional and informative than both pages of content probably said the same exact thing.
Exactly.
But the one had bulleted points, had pictures to go along with what you needed to do to fix my problem.
Absolutely. And those graphic images provide a sense of information and understanding. Pardon me. So look at your website. Go through your website. Are there images there? Have you pulled things together to make it more illustrative and instructional? That's absolutely necessary. All right, continuing in these points, videos with optional captions and headlines. Like graphic images, videos on websites should serve a purpose more than purely an aesthetic reason or marketing hype. Stay away from marketing hype videos, period. They need to be utilitarian. They need to be useful. Ask yourself these questions. Do your videos help establish credibility for your products or services? For example, like a testimonial or something from a customer. Do videos help users complete their desired tasks? Very similar to your flip cam scenario. If they would have had a video, you probably would have watched the video before anything else. Do videos help with user confidence? We like to surround videos with proper text, both a video heading and a caption formatted in the content itself as well, because we also know that from a search engine aspect, if you have video surrounded by text, that text is contributing to the value of that video. Number 8, real quick, bolds and italics. A more subtle way of increasing content scannability is to use bolds and italics within the content. When used properly, and I'm going to say properly again, this text format can draw users' focus to a caption, a headline, a pull quote, a block quote, anything that's in the site. It's just that additional embellishment there.
Yeah, and it used to be a ranking factor as you would bold your keywords on that page.
It's
not really a ranking factor anymore, but it still helps with conversions on that page. If people are seeing bolded words that they know that they were looking for, they're expecting to find on that page, and they're bold and they stand out, that can help with some of that conversion. So.
Absolutely. But please keep in mind.
But minimal.
All this can be overdone, especially if your content already contains headings and subheadings. We'd highly recommend an A/B test on these whenever you're really wanting to see the performance. And on top of all this, Tom, you can measure the performance of pages by the amount of time on site, the additional paths from that page to another page that has supportive content. You can test out the viability of these type of formattings very easily as well. Ninth point, numbers, capitalization, and special characters. Digits increase the scannability of web content, especially if a user is looking for a fact. simply placing a number 4 instead of spelling out the word 4 in content actually increases fixations of the content on the content. Characters such as percentage sign, dollar signs are also equally increased fixations. We recommend highly using numbers and characters as page elements if you want users to pay attention to the different things, such as a caption or a pull quote.
That doesn't make AP style Nazis happy.
That's true. 10th point, annotations. This item is often overlooked of a way of providing information. Too often a link can be sexy without a keyword or a key phrase in it. It can stand on its own, but annotation is a bit of content along with that link that you can help provide information about that link. And that is also a scoreable feature for search engines. That's why they like links in content so much, within reason, because there's actually annotation around that link. So highly recommend testing that out and seeing how much more traction you get with some of those links that are out there. Lastly, you need to test and proofread the content. Don't implement all 10 of these items on every single web page. It's going to look fugly.
Yeah.
If the content is short, 400 words or less, then you may not need to do many of these things. But, a relevant graphic image and a caption might be all the short blog post needs. However, if it's a long piece of content, over 800 words, then breaking it up with subheads, bulleted lists, and some embedded text links can make content even more readable and scannable. Before we publish, we view the site's content on multiple devices, like a desktop, like a laptop computer, a tablet, and a phone, in both orientations, and then you really get the understanding of how your users are actually going to interact with that content. So, remember the words from poet John Lingay and adapted from former President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. You can please some of the people all of the time. You can please all the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all the time. You just can't do it, but you do need to have some strategies to get closer to good readability and scannability.